Hi students, welcome to ARK Reflections IAS. In 2014, the Supreme Court of India said gender identity is at the core of personal autonomy. It gave you the right to choose who you are, but in 2026, the law has changed its mind. On March 25th, the Parliament passed the Transgender Persons Amendment Bill 2026. What was once a matter of personal dignity and personal choice has now become a matter of medical paperwork. Today, we'll strip away all the jargon to understand how this bill changes what it means to be transgender in India and why the community is calling it a biological trap. So, let's understand this issue at depth. So, the biggest casualty in this bill is self identification. Self perceived gender identity is your internal sense of gender, whether you feel like a man or if you feel like a woman or the third gender, regardless of your biology at birth. Until now, you could declare your identity legally. Under the 2026 law, however, that right is gone. Section 4(2) of 2019 Act has been deleted. So you can no longer just say who you are. Now you must prove it to the medical board. This brings us back to the time where doctors, not individuals, used to decide the gender. Now let's talk about the new gatekeeper of this whole issue, the medical board. The medical board now is a committee of doctors and officials, usually headed by a chief medical officer, that will now examine each and every applicant and decide if that person actually is of the third gender or not. In the old law, however, the district magistrate gave you an ID card based on your application. Now, the DM can only act after the medical board gives a recommendation. This means that the mandatory physical or psychological screening is compulsory. For a community that has faced decades of harassment in the hospitals in the name of screening, this is being viewed as a return to the state-sponsored trauma. Now, who is actually a third gender person? Let's understand that first. The definition has been tightened now. Congenital variation refers to biological traits, that is the chromosomes or hormones, that are different from the standard male or female at birth. The 2026 bill, however, focuses on entirely biology itself. It recognizes the traditional socio-cultural groups like Hijra, Aravani and Kinnar, but leaves no room for gender fluid or non-binary people who don't have the biological markers. If your gender identity is in your mind and not in your DNA, the 2026 law essentially says you don't exist. The government argues that this is all about protection. The government says that they have introduced a new category for people who are forced or deceived into the transgender identity through surgery or coercion. The punishments have been hiked up to life imprisonment for kidnapping an adult to force into the gender change. This is aimed at stopping what is called as forced emasculation. But critics fear that the same law will be used to target doctors providing legitimate gender affirming care. The 2026 bill is strategic. The 2026 bill may say that it filters beneficiaries, but it ignores the 2014 NALSA judgment. But now, what is the NALSA judgment? The NALSA judgment is the landmark Supreme Court ruling that recognizes the third gender as a fundamental right under Article 21. By removing this self-identification, the government has set stage for a massive legal battle. Can a bill override fundamental right recognized by the Supreme Court? So basically, the community is not fighting for ID card anymore. They are fighting for the right to exist on their own terms. I am Yogiraj. Thank you for watching. Like and subscribe if you found this video informative.